Welcome to the Say Yes Movement podcast with Heather and John, where we help you with your professional and personal growth, helping you say yes to all the scary stuff. Hey, Heather, how's it going?
It's going good, John. So saying yes to all this scary stuff, it's
Mm,
Halloween, it's scary time. I think it's the perfect time to talk about what people are afraid of because
yeah.
we are always coaching our clients through some limiting beliefs, things that are scared of them, that scare them. And it's the whole premise of our podcast, say yes to the things that scare you. So
Mm.
what,
Yeah.
what, what, go for it.
Yeah. Wait, what am I scared of? So, recently, everybody, I think I've mentioned this a few times, but recently I was in Portugal, right? And one of the things that's been on my list is learning how to surf. Right, like it's
Ooh.
it's it's what I want to do. I want to learn how to surf. It's I don't care how old. Like I'll be 75 and I'll still try to figure it out. Right. And as I stepped into the water, there's a little place near Porto called Matosinhos where they have like these waves and people learn how to surf. Can I tell you, I was out on the water and the waves were pretty freaking big, right? Like I'm like, they're like five, like the water was really shallow, similar to, in and around the bay where you live. Like you can walk out forever and not drown because it only comes up to your kneecaps. Um, but there was big enough waves that, when I went out waist deep, which is like far out, I'm like, this is pretty scary. I don't know if I'm ready for this, right? So I never did do my surf lesson. So I don't know if it was because I was subconsciously too afraid to go do that. But that is like one of the things that are showing up for me right now. Like what,
Ooh.
being afraid of surfing and just having a wipeout. Like I don't know if you've ever been sucked under like an undercurrent, right?
Yeah.
Man, and you feel like you have no control, right? Like you just like you're getting sucked back out into the ocean, and the ocean at times can be ferocious, right? So I'm holding on to a past thought that's holding me in fear today of going out on hopping on a surfboard.
Well,
So
and I don't know if you've ever been in big waves, but if you just stand there, the wave's just going to topple you over. The
mm,
actual way to get through a wave is to dive under it
the
and to
wave.
go through it. And I think that's a great metaphor for life. Whatever you're afraid of, it's time to step into that one thing that you're
Mm,
afraid of and do it, as opposed to just stand there, being afraid, because that's not going to serve you at all. But getting through that water, getting through that wave. And it was interesting the first time I dived into a wave, and because it was scary, it just seemed counterintuitive, which is a lot of times what our clients and what we do when we're afraid. We're like, I'm not going to do that, I'm afraid to do it. But that's actually the step that you need to take, that action step towards whatever you're afraid of. So surfing, yes, your next
yeah.
trip, we're gonna make it happen. Yes. Maybe
Yes.
smaller waves though. You can start with smaller waves, John.
Yeah, no, there were some small waves. It's just, when you're in the water, at a distance, they look small, right? Like at a distance, it's like, oh, that's not that big a deal. But when you're out there and the waves over your head, it's like, wow, okay, like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, but, you know, again, like I was holding on to something that's happened to me in the past. And instead of releasing it and letting it go so I can go and take on these new challenges, I have to wonder how many other people out there are doing the same, right? Like how many
Mm-hmm.
times have you held on? And I think about people in relationships specifically, right?
Okay.
People who've been hurt in relationships don't go into other relationships because they've been hurt. But not every
Mm.
relationship is going to be painful, right? Because if we
No.
lived by that philosophy, we'd be with nobody, right? Like we would be single and by ourselves, right? It just sometimes you need to let go of certain things in order to keep moving forward, even in the face of being afraid. Just like you said, Heather, you got to just jump right into it, right?
100%. There is, talking about the ocean, when I got my scuba diving license,
Mm.
I booked a trip right after to scuba dive in the Bahamas, and I did a shark diving because I'm like every time Shark Week comes up on Discovery Channel, I'm tuned in and scared at the same time. It scares the bejeebas out of me. But I decided that my first dive, if I'm so scared of sharks, should be with sharks. And let me tell you, that was the stupidest and smartest thing that I've ever done in my entire life, because I was deathly afraid. I actually have an amazing photo of the sharks because there was photographers down there with us, and one of them looks photoshopped. I use it in one of my keynote speaking engagements because it doesn't even look real. But every time that photo gets posted, I actually had the same fear show up of that moment where all I wanted to do was run, but all I was allowed to do was breathe, because if I would have gone flaring or swam away, the shark would have chased me and, bitten in my head, would that have happened? I don't know, because I didn't do anything but just stay there. So, oftentimes we have to face our fears to get past it. And then you were highlighting, past relationships or past jobs or past anything. We bring it into the future and it's not serving ourselves. So that limiting belief is something that we want to uncover and say, why are we so afraid of this happening? And it's not that you're afraid of what's happening in the future. It's something that's happened to you already in the past.
Yeah. Well, and letting go of that, right? Like, so, and I think about your shark example, right? And so this is for all those people that are the people that comment on people that do things that we're doing right now, right? And so, I'm sure when you talked about that experience, there's always that one or two people in every audience and every crowd. It's like, why would you do that? But it could have bitten your leg off. It could have bitten off your arm. Like, you could have died. Like, but you didn't.
Did it.
Right? You didn't. And, there's always the I'm not going to call them, I don't know if the right word is naysayers, but the people that always look at everything that could go wrong. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just flipping the lens, right? Like, being afraid is okay, but being afraid and looking at what could go well, right? Like,
yes.
Right. So just shifting that mindset to, okay, I'm afraid, but what could go well? Well, I could get down into the ocean. I could have instructors that are looking after me. There are people that are going to shoo away the sharks if, something like, I'm not going to be in danger, because how many other people have done this, right? Like, I think about that on roller coasters, or anytime I'm doing something, I hit a chord with you, didn't I?
Yeah.
But when you're doing something for the first time, I look at, okay, well, like the first time I did bungee jumping, right? Like, I jumped off a 150-foot, a crane that was just kind of hanging over a lake. And I'm looking at all the people, I'm like, they came out of it okay. There's a very good chance I'm going to come out of it okay.
Well, and you're talking about naysayers, John. Sometimes the naysayers are really close people in our lives. My mom was someone that saw the lens, looked through the lens of things are going to go wrong, things are going to be dangerous, you're going to die. I think she told me I was going to die oftentimes. So I stopped telling her the crazy stuff I was doing. But even as I advanced in my career, my mom, I remember I was so proud I got a promotion, and she said, they just fire you the closer you get to the top. And I thought, oh, geez, that's not an outlook that I want to adopt. But oftentimes people are naysayers, not because they want to put negativity on you, but because you're changing and your expression actually is inviting them to change as well. So don't always wear the feelings of the naysayers. Look at it from the lens of, are they trying to keep you safe? Are they feeling threatened by the things that you're doing? And is it actually an act of love that they're trying to express to you? And when I was able to relook at the things that my mom would say to me all the time that were not positive things, I was actually able to see it as acts of love. And so what other things are we saying in our own mind that if we just reframed it, it would actually be the catapult for us to take action, like signing up for surfing lessons, John?
Yeah. No, it's already on my list. So I've already got the go ahead to do that the next time we go. It's just a time thing. But, just kind of building on what you're talking about, when we do things that other people don't think is possible, people start to question whether or not it's even possible for that. This is what I love by, the actions that we take, right? Like, I even think about just this year in stepping into this Ironman 70.3, right? And some of the comments that I heard coming back from people is, I signed up for my very first half marathon. Or I'm going to go do a 5K race for the first time. I've never done anything like that. And, being the person that was there prior, like, not having gone through it, like, I wasn't quite sure on how to respond. But now that I've gone through it, it's like, yeah, you can do that, right? And you can even do more if you
Yes.
wanted to, right? And we become, we don't even think about this, especially when with kids, right? Like kids are, no matter what happens, they're always looking, right? Like they're always watching, they're always paying attention. And even when you don't think they are, they're always paying attention and they're picking up on all the things that we're doing. And being that source of inspiration, right? Like people
Hmm.
will look at you. Some people will be intimidated and say, "Oh, that's crazy. Why would you ever do that? Why? I have no, the line that kills me. I have no desire in ever doing something like that." Okay, that's great. That's great for you. Don't do it,
Exactly.
right? But
I
then there are people, yeah, there are people who are secretly saying, "Man, I want to do that."
I want to do that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love it when people tell me just a little inkling of what they want to do, because my first response is always this: oh, your future self is cheering you on right now with that goal. And
Mm,
it has them, what it does, it's a little brain trick for visualizing that they've already completed it if their future self is thanking them. And it's also giving them the power that they're their own cheerleaders. So this is a beautiful mind hack that we've learned in neurolinguistic
mm,
programming. But your future self is cheering for you. Your future
yeah.
self has already accomplished that and knows that you're going to be amazing at that. So I
Yeah.
can't wait for your future self to be cheering you on in the ocean, John. That's going to be awesome. But it's getting past our fears. And maybe our listeners out there, it's not surfing for you, but it's another goal or something that scares you, and saying yes to it anyways.
Yeah, well, especially as we go into 2024, I know a lot of people talk about career shifts and career changes and health changes and financial changes, right? Why not make 2024 the year that you do all the things that you want to do? Or
Mm,
let me correct that. Just
yes.
take that one thing, and what's that one thing that you're going to focus on next year, right? If you've been thinking about doing a career shift, maybe next year is the year that you make that shift, right? Or and I've heard this, and I don't know how many times you've heard this. So people who are like 8, 9 years away from retirement saying, I only got another 8, 9 years to go, and then I'll just get through it. And I'm like, if that's 8, 9 years of your life, you're not living to the fullest version of you,
That's right.
right? Why would you want to do that to yourself because of a retirement package? Like you still get a retirement, like you still get your retirement. Maybe you don't get as much money, but you still get that, right? And we're holding on to things that might seem like we have significant value in the future, but right now, man, it's just holding you back from who it is you want to be, right? So
Yes, and believe me, I grew up in
yeah.
that mentality with my family, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But abundance comes in all kinds of forms, but you can't go find that abundance until you're ready to let go of the
Mm,
shackles that are holding you back right now. And I know that's quite, a conversation that we have with our coaching clients all the time, but we surround ourselves with business owners, entrepreneurs that are
mm,
changing the world, and they didn't do that without thinking differently, without
yeah.
thinking of the world through the lens of, I want to be a huge impact and I want to make a difference.
Well, and that's exactly what we saw at our speaker event, right? Just the people
Yes.
that we connected with, the speakers that were up on stage, the people that were in the audience, like you could see like there's a different way of being, right?
Yes.
And holding on to the old ideology, like, just wait for, like, I'll just do this job until retirement and then I'll be free. And like, why not just be free right now? Right? You can live the life you want to live without having to hold on to these old ways of being. But the way you do that, right? And this is, I know we've talked about this a few times, but you gotta be conscious of who you surround yourself with, right?
Oh,
Who are the
so
people.
powerful.
Right. Like I think about you in the communities that you belong to, me in the communities that I belong to. Like there's no way I could be here today if it wasn't for that. Right. Even picking up
100%.
materials and books, right? Like whether it's Tony Robbins, it's Robin Sharma, it's Bob Proctor, it's all these amazing leaders in their space that have helped us kind of shift our thinking a little bit. And this is when I think about future generations, like this is evolution. Yes, there's a
Hmm.
part you should hold on to in terms of tradition, but it doesn't mean that you can't introduce new traditions. You can't introduce new ways of being, right? And when you think about things that you're afraid of, a lot of those things that you might be afraid of today were things your parents were afraid of.
That's
And, you
right.
know,
And they're
and it
not even
could
your
be
own fears.
yeah, they're not even your own fears. They could be your parents, your grandparents, even, right? And that gets transitioned down generation to generation. And maybe now is the time to say, you know, what is it that I really need to hold on to? What do I need to let go of? Because,
There's
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's great. You mentioned Tony Robbins, and it just reminded me, many years ago I went to a Tony Robbins event, and I actually signed up for it because at Tony Robbins events you actually walk on fire. And as a bit of a adrenaline junkie, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And what I had no idea was just how impactful the entire conference was going to be on my life, but how impactful it was to do something that seemed a little crazy, a little daring, a lot daring, a little dangerous, and doing it anyways. Because then when limiting beliefs came up later, I'm like, you've walked on fire. How can you not say yes to this new
Yeah.
opportunity or this new, vision? And now, I've done it a few times, walked on fire, but that same mentality has shifted. Is like, you've worked on fire. Of course you can do this. So,
Yeah.
I love that saying, we can do hard things. Yes, we can do hard things, and we can enjoy it and have fun with it. And, shifting our mindset is one of those hard things that we just need to say yes to.
Yeah. No, and I think about the whole fire experience. I've done it a few times too, right? I went to the same event, not as you, but I went to another event a few years later. And the first time was amazing, right? Like nothing happened. I didn't burn my feet. The second time I actually burned my feet. And people are like, why would you go back? Because I'm like, how much power does the mind really have, right? And what I realized doing it 3 times, I think I've done it like 3 or 4 times already. Your mind really dictates and controls the type of suffering that you might go through, right? And you know this because you've done the fire walk a few times, but it's really up here that determines whether or not you get burned, right? And stepping out of, we talk about states. It's one of the things that we talk about in NLP. When you step out of a powerful state, your body automatically weakens, right? And when you think about facing fears, right? Facing things that you're afraid of, you're actually building more resilience and more strength and more empowerment inside of you, right?
Because your brain doesn't know the difference. So it thinks you've already done it.
Yeah, and your body will react exactly the way you're thinking, right? So the second time I walked through fire, I burned my feet because I stepped out of state for just a second, right? Wow. I'm like, oh man, I hope I don't burn my feet. Like that was the thought as I was walking across this fire was I hope I don't burn my feet, right? And of course, just even for a second, right? It only takes a few seconds to walk across the fire, but that one thought, burned my feet. Right? Like I had blisters. Nothing. Listen, you can still walk after you walk on fire and burn your feet. So for all those people out there saying, "What the heck? What's like? Are you crazy?" Yeah, maybe a little bit. But if crazy means doing and living the way I want to live, then I'll be crazy. Like I'm totally okay with being crazy.
100%. Listen, there's so much to explore on that state mind shift, and especially walking on fire. But let's start with the action, and I'm going to do the call to action for everyone. Do a journal exercise of listing all the things that you would do that you're scared of doing, but you do them anyways. And then what you want to do is you want to circle your top 3, and that might actually help you look at 2024 and what do you want to put on the list of, I'm going to definitely do that this year. And it needs to be something that scares you. It needs to be something that's going to push you out of your comfort zone, but say yes to it anyways. And I think this is a great one. I know you got going surfing, bungee jumping, maybe. I don't know. I've never jumped out of an airplane. I have to think about
You've
this. I
never
have to do
jumped
my
out
list.
of an airplane?
No,
really?
I haven't.
I've done it twice. It's so cool.
Ooh,
you got to
okay.
You got to put it on your list. You got to put it on your list.
Well, that is our call to action for the week, John.
All right. So yes. So thank you again for listening in, and just like we talked about in last episode with the SWOT, maybe there's an opportunity for you to work with us directly. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to participate in a workshop with us. So what we'd love to hear from you is just drop in the comments below. Yes, I want to be a part of that workshop. I want to be part of that SWOT workshop so we can help you get through those fears, right? Like that's one of the things that we do with our coaching clients. And I love to do that with them because it opens up your life, helping you say yes to all the scary stuff opens up new paths and new opportunities for you. So if you want to be a part of that, just drop us a note below, or you can send us a message directly. We'd love to help you experience and go through that. With that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Say Yes Movement podcast. Thank you again for tuning in. And remember, when you shift your mindset, you shift your life. Wishing you all a great one. Talk to you all soon. Take care.